Alright, hello guys, this is Navid and welcome to this video. All of us are looking for a calmer life and a life that we are more relaxed and more content. Although it might not be easy to create this life for us, but there are a lot of methods that we can use that help us to go through the harshness of life and navigate through what is called life. One of these methods is Stoicism, that is started from Greek Empire and it has been around for thousands of years, and a lot of different people have practiced it throughout the history, from rulers, normal people, poor, rich, and everyday people. But still, to this day, it's still very unknown, and there are a lot of misunderstandings about Stoicism. So today I have my friend with me, Johnny, who is practicing Stoicism and has a vast knowledge on this topic, and we are gonna discuss what is Stoicism and how it can benefit you and where you can start practicing Stoicism. Hey Johnny, welcome to this video.
Hi David, thank you.
Okay, so let's start by telling a little bit about yourself and how did you start knowing about Stoicism and start practicing it?
Alright, so to me, Stoicism, it's been quite recent actually. It's about like 2.5 years ago. I think it's early 2018. I was in pretty much a hard time because back then I broke up with my ex-girlfriend. It's also the longest person I've dated with. So been through a lot of hard emotional time. At the same time, I was under stress working on a certain role that I had back then when I was in Cambodia also. So it is a very stressful time, and what I like to do back then, just to kind of like part of the hobby, just to learn something new, I start listening to Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu, like on YouTube. I was listening and I found out this guy, Ryan Holiday, and he seemed very like cool in a way. I look at him and it's like, wow, this guy is very young and he write like nearly 10 books or something. I was like, yeah, what's with this guy? So I gave him a try through his books, Ego is the Enemy. And I got captivated. That book itself changed my life in a certain way on the way I perceive myself, the way I work with people, when it's come to my ego and stuff like that, right? So I read his other books, and then that is where I get deeper and deeper to Stoicism by reading more the ancient script of the Stoicism and stuff like that.
And you also read a lot of books, right? How many books a year you are reading?
I'm reading about like 70 to 80 books per year. Without comics, like I read a lot of comics, so it's like if you're counting comics, it's probably like 120 or something.
Wow.
So, but a lot of those like is invested in Stoicism as well, and somewhere around the corner, like similarity of that aspect of life.
But that time also you were reading this many books, or this is the time that you also started reading more books?
I only started reading like intensely in December of 2017. So in a way it's a coincidental things, but yeah, it's where it started.
First question I have for you is, what is Stoicism and where did it start from?
So Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy perfected by Roman people. It was found like by this guy called Zeno of Citium. So Zeno himself, like he was a merchant, his ship got sunk, so he lost everything. And then he stuck in Athens. Then he happened to bump into a bookstore. And then he just found some book on philosophy and he was reading about it. And then he asked the booksellers like, hey, like how do I find philosophers? So he go and found philosopher, and the philosopher he found is like a Cynic philosopher. So Cynicism is one of the philosophy coming from the branch of Socrates. So he learned under Cynicism, and then one he get very competent is kind of like start to branch out and just create his own philosophy, and that is Stoicism. And the word Stoicism is come from the word Stoa. So Stoa is like it's like this ancient Greek like classical beginning and stuff like that. And that's where they usually learn about Stoicism.
Okay, got it. And why Stoicism started and why people today should care about Stoicism, that is something that was practicing like thousands of years ago?
As you see, the story of Zeno starts from a very dark place. A lot of time when we're talking about Stoicism, people seeing that it's about living an emotionless life, but that's not true. Because Stoicism is not about not acknowledging your feeling. Stoicism is pretty much as a tool to cope up with emotion and feeling and like the difficulty in life. And that is why it's a it's a good philosophy using as your operating system. Like Tim Ferriss, he would use that. He called it like one of the most optimal operating system that we can use, and then it's very useful throughout history. This philosophy is inspired a lot of people, even George Washington, J.K. Rowling, yeah, even Theodore Roosevelt, and Nelson Mandela also apparently. A decade and a half ago, it got very famous in Silicon Valley. So in that time, people using that in entrepreneurship. So it's to help entrepreneur to overcome like hard time, because back then there's recession, hard economy and stuff like that, right? So it's just having that to make yourself more endurance, like physically and emotionally. Like what Tim Ferriss like would like to use this philosophy on is like, for example, I mean, he has a lot of money, but it's not always secure, right? You could lose those money and stuff like that in the future. We don't know. So what he usually do, probably like once a month, he would just pretend that he doesn't have any money. So he would sleep on the floor. He would eat very like the kind of food that like homeless people would eat, for example. So yeah, it's got famous back then. And during this pandemic as well, when it's break out, there's like this news article that I read that books on Stoicism, the sale got so high. So yeah, just sum it up. It's a great philosophy that you can use to give you some light in the darkness you experience in life. Even this day, we're living in kind of like one of the most peaceful time in humankind, but it's not guaranteed. Like future is uncertain.
So in general, Stoicism is teaching us how to get ready emotionally for the hardship of life, right?
It is. It's about accepting that. Accept and prepare for the worst case. That's one of the things that the Stoics individual would do as well.
You need to be grateful of the things that you have, but at the same time prepare yourself for the hard time and maybe losing everything that you have. And I know that you also doing a lot of these practices that, for example, getting cold showers in the morning, or for example, you also do sleeping on the floor once in a while. And also, it doesn't say that stop looking for more. Yes, of course you want to achieve more, but you also prepare yourself for the worst case scenario.
Basically, I joined a program with Ryan Holiday also, like just practicing Stoicism during like this very hard time, pandemic and stuff like that. It was somewhere in April, and one of the exercises I did was to have an emergency plan. So an emergency plan, in a way, is like mapping out what is the worst fear or the worst thing that can happen to me, and is there anything that I can prepare for that, or if it happens, is there anything I can do? So I map out different scenarios, right? Let's say, what if I get coronavirus, right? Like, what should I do? How do I know? I mean, I have to do all this research and put it in my notes, and I had to think like, okay, if I got coronavirus, what is that phone number I should call? What if I lose my job? How long can I live with the amount of money that I have, right? We are thinking about worst case scenario. Usually worst case scenario doesn't happen. But there's a problem with all in optimism, because we think that the bad thing won't happen, and when it happens, we're not prepared for it. Right now, for example, okay, if I happen to lose my job, let's say next week, I'm kind of like, I expected that. And even if I get panic, I just look at my note, because I was doing all this analysis when I'm most rational. So I don't kind of like act out of being panicked.
And also not being prepared is the thing that breaks everything, because when you're not prepared, then that's the biggest hit that you get, right? Even in financial terms, I created some videos about emergency fund. Is that if you have an emergency fund, if the worst case scenario happens, then you are safe because you can use that money. But when you don't have it, that's the time that you will lose everything that you have. So this concept applies to every other area of life. So you are prepared for the worst case scenario. It might not happen, it might never happen, but if it happens, you are prepared, so it doesn't hit you really hard.
Exactly.
All right, so one of the very famous concepts under Stoicism that I've heard a lot when I was doing the research and watching videos is amor fati. So can you please explain a little more what is amor fati?
Amor fati is a Latin word. It means the love of fate, meaning you love your fate as it is. And actually, from what I know, from what I've researched and learned throughout the years, that there's no Stoic philosopher say amor fati. It's a concept that is coined by Nietzsche. He's not a big fan of Stoicism, but like he kind of liked the concept that it was mentioned about how dealing with life. That's why he created this amor fati concept in one of his quotes. And one of his quote was saying that it's not gonna be perfectly follows the quote, but he was saying that the highest of human being is that you accept what is happening to you, but more than just accept what is happening, but you love it. Meaning, if you go back in time, you want nothing to be different, right? If you look at, for example, like if I would apply this concept to my life, if I look at all the pain that I have in my childhood, all the pain that I have, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, or even look at the situation that's happening in the world right now, I wouldn't want anything to be different at all. It's just the way it is. I totally accept it and I totally love it. And we start to approach in a more like surrendering in a way that just fate is gonna happen, and there might be something that's happening that is totally out of control, but just accept it and just take a look into what we can do, what we can learn from this situation based on what we can control. So that's it.
That's a very important point that you said that I want to repeat it, is that because if we say that, oh, whatever happened is fate and I cannot control, I don't want to also go into the victim mindset. So we have to be very careful to distinguish these two, that okay, I accept what happens to me, but I'm not a victim to this situation. I accept, but then I get out as a better person from that situation.
It is, because it's not like accept everything as it is and we're just being passive with it. That's not what Stoicism is. Stoicism is about totally understand and just like, is this up to you, to this whole situation, right? Like if I look at the number of coronavirus cases every day, that's not up to me, because there's a bunch of other individuals who's doing that, right? I mean, maybe the government, maybe some healthcare people, whatever it's like are doing that. They're doing their job. I don't have that direct control on that, right? But I have direct control on how I take care of myself, how I take care of my family, right? So what Stoic individual would do is to just to accept like you don't have control everything, and then not channeling your effort on things you cannot control. The thing that you have control is only your action, the way you react, and your choices. That's pretty much it. And that's the thing, no matter how hard life hit you, there's always something you can do, right? Like you can always be a good person, you can always be someone helpful to other people.
True. And this is very important, because not to worry and letting go of the things that you don't have control of, and freeing up that energy and resources to take control of the things that you can change.
Exactly.
And that's how you proactively changing your situation, although you're accepting what is happening and is out of your control. Okay, so now some people might think that Stoicism means that they shouldn't have fun, or they shouldn't buy anything, or they shouldn't enjoy their life. But is that true?
It's not. Stoic philosophers do encourage you to have fun, but to have good quality leisure. Stoic individual would accept that you need leisure. But this principle or virtues that we have to have is moderation or temperance. There's no saying that you shouldn't buy stuff and stuff like that. If we look at Seneca, who is a senator in Roman empires, one of a great Stoic philosopher also, he's one of the richest men in Roman's empire back then. Though he have all this possession, he doesn't tie his happiness to those. Yes, you can have fun. Yes, you can have more stuff. But do you have your dependency on those things? If you have that, then
that's not
that
right
if you lose it, then because you don't have direct control, right? I mean, maybe my house could be on fire. Maybe somebody gonna rob. Maybe the comic downfall.
And not to be in a way that you buy stuff because of the effect of other people on your life, effect of advertising, social media, these celebrities. Not to fall into consumerism, but buy the things that really brings you happiness, and you really want to have that. In general, is like not tying your happiness into your possessions.
Same with people. It's kind of quite like slightly dark in a way. Because in Stoicism, there's also this Latin word called memento mori. So meaning that remember that you will die. It helps us to start thinking, okay, if this is the last day I would have, what would I do? It sounds very dark, but in a way it's very, very helpful. It crafts your life to be more genuine,
purposeful,
and in a way just do stuff that will make you really happy.
When we are talking about Stoicism, we said that okay, it doesn't mean that you don't need to have fun. It doesn't mean that you don't need to buy things for yourself. But also we are talking about being content, right? So another question that we talked a little bit about, but I want to go a little bit deeper, is that, okay, someone that is following Stoicism and is content with what he or she has now, does this mean that they don't need to strive for more? Or how this works in the Stoicism world?
It's really depend on our choices in life. Is happiness that you want to have, is it all you see right now? If it is, then maybe you don't have to go to extra mile, right? Because like a lot of time we've been marketed to a lifestyle that to be happy you have to have million or billion of dollars. You have to build this massive and giant big company, right? And we think that is the only way to happiness, right? But the thing is, like, if you kind of pause a bit and just think, like, in a way, is that what you really want? What if you look in your life, what make you happy right now? Maybe it doesn't have to be that way, right? Because a lot of time when we're chasing this carrot, we kind of ignore things that truly make us happy. It's like, for example, being around with our family and stuff like that, right? So that's why thinking into our life, okay, if this is the last year of my life, if it's the last day of my life, how would I do it? Does being the top of the world really help or not? So it's really depend on the individual what they value in life. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is from a financial perspective. From Seneca, I would say that there's two ways to be rich. One is to earn more money. Second is just to want less, right? What kind of stress you want to have? Like, you want to have more stress earning money, or just like acknowledge it, you cannot have everything. Just be content with what you have. Of course, maybe having a big house and stuff like that really gonna make you happy in a certain way. But
are you willing to pay the price?
Are you willing to pay the price? Are you gonna willing to work extra for the next 10 to 20 years? Right? Does that make you happy in a way? Maybe that amount of time that you spend maybe can be used for something else that is serve you better in
bring more happiness to you. True.
So.
And it doesn't mean that if you really find out that the happiness for you means billions of dollars, or a happiness for you is mansion or the Bentley or Mercedes, it's okay. But as long as you sit and think and make sure that this is what you really want, and it's not because of the lifestyle, as you said, the lifestyle that is created as the best lifestyle. Because now also it's much easier for us through internet to see other people's lives, and we have as a human this comparison, and like, oh, that looks so cool, and because of the glamour that it has and because how it's marketed, it looks so cool that oh my god, this is something that I should have, and that's the happiness and that's what success means, right? But when you sit and think very deep, maybe it's not something that you are willing to pay the price for, or maybe after achieving it you don't reach happiness. I was talking about this in another video also, that there are a lot of people who achieve the financial freedom, but then they are still not happy because they didn't find what is happiness for them. They thought that, okay, if I reach $1 million, this is happiness. After that, I can be happy. Then they reach there, and because they didn't know what is happiness actually for them, they're like, oh, actually, I'm not still happy. Then $10 million is what makes me happy. Then money becomes the sole goal, and it becomes like this rat race of running for money. And then later on, there is, oh, actually, I didn't enjoy my life because I will just keep pursuing money.
Agree. Like, money is a tool. Like, it shouldn't be our master. So instead of like aiming directly to that certain goal, maybe asking ourselves, if money is not an issue, what will I be doing?
Exactly.
And I did this exercise like a few months ago, and I list them all down, and a lot of those has nothing to do with money.
And also another thing that I want to say here about this is that enjoying the process, enjoying the life itself, not when I reach this goal I would be happy, but I enjoy the way of reaching this process. And it goes back to the Stoicism again. It has ups and downs, but I will enjoy when it's going down, and I will enjoy when it's going up. I prepare for going down also. And money for sure brings happiness, but at least for me, there is like a threshold for amount of money, right? So before you reach this threshold, money is having a very immediate result on your happiness. But after you reach this threshold and pass, then the money doesn't have effect that much, right? If you are okay financially, and for each person this okay is different, then you have to sit and really think that now what I want to do with my life.
Yeah. The thing is, like, not many of us have that privilege to get ourselves to the point of success that people market it to us.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, we just keep chasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not many of us reach there, and we kind of feel bad and use it to judge ourselves.
Yeah.
But some of those people who've been there, they start to realize it doesn't really give them that much of thing. That's why a lot of them turn to different things, like midlife crisis, or maybe do some other things that totally different from what they used to do. Maybe starting a more purposeful company, maybe do some charity work and stuff like that. For example, Bill Gates, right?
Yeah. All right, so the last question that I have is that where should one start practicing Stoicism, and can you share some starting tips for the people who are interested in Stoicism?
The best way is to read, like to really learn that. Just learn from like books that is written more than 2,000 years ago on Stoicism, directly from this philosopher. So books I would recommend is Meditation by Marcus Aurelius, Letter from a Stoic by Seneca, and Discourses or Enchiridion by Epictetus. Like those three people is considered the most famous Stoic sage. Like other Stoic philosophers are cool, but the thing is, like, those three are famous because of the role they play in the society. Like Marcus Aurelius, he was the Roman Empire, right? And Seneca is like one of the richest men, a senator and stuff like that. And Epictetus, he was a slave, and then he got his freedom and he started a school of philosophy. That's so crazy. And the connection is crazy as well. Like Epictetus, he was a slave, a former slave who became a teacher in Stoicism. He's also inspired Marcus Aurelius, who is the emperor.
What about more modern people? If people want to start from reading more modern authors, who would you recommend?
A lot of these people, they write on Stoicism, but also from the citation from Stoic individual in the past. Describe it in a more descriptive view based on modern context of life.
Yeah.
People to go to, one is Ryan Holiday. He's my personal favorite. One, because like the way he put together is very cool. Ryan Holiday is very good to go and start with, and it's very relatable because the way he described and put the example and everything is very modern day friendly. Another person I would go to is Donald Robertson. He talk about Stoicism in a more psychologist perspective. The way he write make it very practical. Tim Ferriss, he have some free books. It's called the Tao of Seneca, with a collection of his favorite letters from Seneca. And last one I would say Massimo. He wrote books called How to Be a Stoic. One section of it in learning Stoicism, how I started it, is to read. And when you read, to simulate it and also reflect, right? And simulate in a way that things that you see in practicals, like how you can apply in your daily life. Yeah. And you really do it. Another one is that reflect in a sense of journaling. Stoic philosophers, they write a lot, and especially they write to themselves. And in Stoic practices, it's about like writing in the morning and writing in the night. Especially in the night, just to evaluate yourself, whether you keep living based on your principles throughout that day, right? Let's say, to be a good person, or to be a good dad, a good husband, and stuff like that, right? So it's about having that reflection and just like seeing what you can improve the next day. So it's just that circle, you repeat it. All right,
thanks Johnny for this conversation. And anything else that you want to add at the end?
What I love about Stoicism is like, it's a philosophy, it's not a religion, right? I mean, in the end of the day, it's about learning what the philosophy has to say, and it's totally up to us on what kind of meaning that we totally get from it, and how we're gonna choose to put it into our life to make our life better. What I love about it is like there's no dogma. It's like you have to do this, otherwise you're not like a stoic or whatever. So I think that is a good starting point and help my life like in a lot of way, and especially to be calm in any difficult situation. It's a good operating system. As Tim Ferriss would say, and I totally agree that.
Okay, thank you very much for watching this video until now. Please make sure to write comments and share your ideas, or if you have questions in the comment section, and I will also tag Johnny's page, so if you want to follow Johnny, you can have his page there. And I hope this video bring value to your life and you can start having a more relaxed and calm life by watching this video. Thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next video.
Thank you.